Chosen one, anchor your spirit to what I'm about to reveal, because an angel saw your photograph this week, and the reaction in heaven was so intense that not even God expected what happened next. That exhaustion you've been carrying, that weight pressing down on your shoulders like you're holding up the world, I know where it's coming from. The last 72 hours have felt different, haven't they? Maybe you were scrolling through your phone yesterday, looking at old pictures of yourself, wondering where that light in your eyes went. Or maybe you caught your reflection in a mirror at 4:00 in the morning and felt a jolt of recognition, like you were looking at a stranger who used to be you. The enemy has been working overtime to convince you that your light is dimming because he knows what heaven just discovered about your photograph. It all makes sense tomorrow. The spiritual warfare, the attacks on your identity, the whispers telling you that you've lost your purpose. But here's what you need to understand. You're not under attack because you're failing. You're under attack because an angel saw something in your image that triggered a heavenly response no one anticipated. Think back to that moment this week when you deleted that post before sharing it. That moment when you stayed quiet in a conversation because you didn't think your voice mattered. You thought that silence was weakness, that hesitation was doubt. But that restraint was actually divine protection. You were being hidden until heaven could process what was just revealed about your spiritual DNA. You did not stumble across this message by chance. The algorithm did not bring you here. An angel who recognized your photograph guided you to this moment. This is a divine briefing about what was seen in the realms when your image crossed the desk of heaven. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what the angel saw that caused such a stir above. I'm going to reveal why your photograph triggered an emergency meeting in the throne room. And at the end, I'm going to give you the declaration that activates what heaven just realized about your spiritual authority. Do not scroll away. The version of you that's been wondering why everything feels so heavy right now is about to understand that the weight wasn't punishment. It was preparation for what heaven is about to release through your identity. I know what's been happening in the invisible realm around you. You feel like you're living in spiritual suspension, caught between who you used to be and who you're becoming. And in this space, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. He's telling you that your light has diminished. He's convincing you that the struggles you've faced have somehow reduced your spiritual value. He's replaying moments from your past, telling you that because of those mistakes, heaven has downgraded your assignment. But listen to what Isaiah 61 declares about this exact moment. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. The word arise in Hebrew doesn't mean to stand up from sitting. It means to be awakened from death. The scripture is saying that what looks like diminishment is actually resurrection. What feels like your light going out is actually your glory being uncovered. The angel didn't see a faded version of you in that photograph. The angel saw your original design before the world tried to dim you. It saw the spiritual authority you carry that you've forgotten you have. It saw the light frequency that makes demons flee and causes heaven to take notice. You think the heaviness you feel is evidence that you're losing the battle, but let me reframe your reality right now. That weight is not defeat pressing down on you. That weight is glory being loaded into your spirit. You're not being diminished, you're being activated. The photograph that caught the angel's attention wasn't showing your weakness. It was revealing your weapon. The first thing you need to understand, deep within the marrow of your bones, is that you've been profoundly misinterpreting the very signs meant to guide you. The spiritual journey often unfolds like a master tapestry, appearing chaotic and tangled on the underside, while the divine weaver crafts a breathtaking design on the surface. You've been peering at the underside, interpreting every knot as a flaw, every loose thread as a mistake, every unforeseen snag as evidence of your unraveling. Every moment of gnawing doubt, like a shadow lengthening in the twilight of your soul, every wave of bone-deep exhaustion, feeling like an anchor dragging you down into an abyss of despair every time you questioned your very purpose, the sacred blueprint of your existence. You saw these not as natural phases of growth, but as damning evidence that you were irrevocably falling behind, that you were insufficient, or even worse, abandoned by the very hand that called you. But what if I told you, with the conviction of divine truth, that these weren't indicators of failure at all? What if these intensely uncomfortable contractions were actually the intense, sacred birth pangs of your profound spiritual awakening, preparing you for a spiritual rebirth? What if these crucibles were not signs of weakness, but the very forge in which your true, unshakable power is being meticulously crafted? When heaven, with its omniscient gaze and perfect understanding, beheld your photograph, a snapshot, if you will, of your current spiritual reality, a moment captured in the eternal now. They didn't see someone struggling in vain, collapsing under the weight of their imperfections. Oh no, the celestial hosts didn't perceive weakness or defeat. They saw someone being meticulously, divinely prepared. They saw a spirit undergoing a sacred calibration, an intricate refinement, getting ready for an assignment far grander and more glorious than you can currently imagine. Consider the monumental narrative of Moses at the burning bush, a story etched into the very fabric of divine revelation. For 40 years, a lifetime by human reckoning, he wandered in the desolate, sun-baked wilderness, a self-imposed exile, utterly convinced he had disqualified himself from any divine calling. He carried the heavy, suffocating burden of his past mistakes, the impulsive anger that led to murder, the paralyzing fear that drove him from Pharaoh's court, the ignominy of being a shepherd, a seemingly forgotten man, all of which he interpreted as irrefutable proof that God was irrevocably done with him, that his destiny had evaporated into the desert sands like morning dew. But God, the master alchemist and divine sculptor, wasn't punishing Moses in that searing wilderness. Far from it. God was profoundly purifying him, stripping away the layers of his ego, his human ambition, his reliance on earthly status, and replacing them with a deep, unshakable dependence on the divine. The harsh, unforgiving wilderness, in its brutal honesty, was not his disqualification. It was his divine preparation, a sacred crucible designed to burn away the dross of self-sufficiency and worldly expectation, to forge within him a spirit of meekness and unwavering trust, and to reveal the pure, unadulterated gold of his anointing. And when the angel of the Lord finally manifested in that impossible, unconsuming flame, a flame that spoke volumes without scorching a single leaf, a visible sign of an invisible, unquenchable power, Moses instinctively tried to hide his face. Why? Because in that moment of raw, unadulterated divine presence, standing on holy ground, he couldn't recognize, let alone embrace, the immense spiritual authority that had been cultivated within him through decades of hardship, loneliness, and surrender. He was looking at his past self, burdened by perceived failures, while heaven was looking at his prepared, powerful future, ready to lead a nation. This profound dynamic, this hidden hand of preparation, is exactly what's happening to you right now, in this very season of your life. You've been so intensely focused on what feels broken, on the shattered fragments of past dreams and present challenges, that you've tragically missed the magnificent masterpiece that's being painstakingly built within you, piece by divine piece. You've been so acutely aware of the cracks in your foundation that you haven't perceived the celestial blueprints being rolled out for your next phase, for the towering structure of purpose heaven is erecting. But here's where the narrative deepens, where the veil is pulled back to reveal a crucial truth about your journey. The relentless attacks you've been experiencing, those insidious whispers of inadequacy, the overwhelming tides of resistance, aren't random skirmishes in a chaotic world. No, they are utterly strategic. The enemy, with cunning and precision, has been targeting 3 specific vital areas of your life, knowing full well that these are the very pillars of your spiritual authority. And once you clearly see this pattern, once the light of understanding illuminates these targeted areas, you will finally grasp why that profound photograph of you caused such an astonishing, urgent reaction in the highest courts of heaven. He's been meticulously attacking your voice, your vision, and your valor. These are the sacred, interdependent 3 pillars of spiritual authority that, when fully activated, make you profoundly dangerous to the dominion of darkness, a beacon of light that hell cannot extinguish. Let's talk about your voice, that unique, God-given instrument of power. How many times this month, this week, even today, have you started to speak up, to share a truth, an insight, a deeply felt conviction, and then, at the very precipice of expression, you stopped yourself? How many crucial conversations have you skillfully, subtly shifted away from, retracting into silence because you felt, perhaps subconsciously, that your words didn't truly matter, that your perspective was negligible, or that you lacked the authority to articulate it? The enemy, that ancient adversary, knows a profound secret you may have forgotten. Your voice carries a frequency, a divine vibration, a spiritual resonance that is capable of breaking spiritual chains, dismantling strongholds, and releasing captives. He knows with absolute certainty that when you truly speak, when you declare truth in alignment with heaven, things fundamentally shift in the invisible realm. Spiritual paradigms are disrupted, and new realities begin to manifest. So his primary strategy has been to convince you, subtly and persistently, that your opinion isn't valuable, that your unique insights aren't needed, that you should simply stay quiet, blend into the background, and let others lead the charge. But hear this truth. The angel who witnessed your photograph also perceived the silent, powerful sound waves of your unspoken prayers, the frequencies of your suppressed truths, the resonant echoes of your divine declarations that you've been holding back. And heaven is not just listening. Heaven is poised and ready to amplify what you've been holding back, to give volume and momentum to the very words you thought didn't matter, unleashing them as spiritual weapons into the atmosphere. Then there is your vision, the capacity to perceive divine possibilities beyond the confines of earthly limitations. You used to see possibilities everywhere, didn't you? Your imagination was a boundless ocean of potential. You used to dream with your eyes wide open, painting vivid tapestries of a future brimming with purpose and divine intervention. But somewhere along the way, through a series of betrayals, disappointments, and unmet expectations, a dense cloud of disillusionment began to obscure your spiritual sight. This fog made you start seeing obstacles where there were once opportunities, perceiving insurmountable problems instead of pregnant potential, focusing on scarcity instead of divine abundance. The enemy, ever the master of deception, cleverly convinced you that being realistic meant lowering your expectations, shrinking your dreams, and conforming to the limited horizons of the world around you. He tricked you into believing that true wisdom lay in tempering your divine aspirations with human cynicism. But heaven, the very source of all creation, does not operate on earthly limitations or finite calculations. Heaven laughs at the concept of impossibility. The angel saw the vibrant dreams you've quietly buried, the audacious visions you've regretfully dismissed as impossible fantasies, the spiritual blueprints you folded away in shame. And there was such an excited, expectant stir in the throne room, a thrill running through the celestial realms, because your spiritual sight, your capacity to see with the eyes of God, is not just returning, it is about to be gloriously restored, sharper and clearer than ever before, revealing a panoramic view of your destiny. And this brings us to something most people miss entirely, a subtle yet profound shift happening within you. There's been a spiritual rewiring happening in your very nervous system over the last few weeks, a deep cellular recalibration. You might have felt an unexplained surge of anxiety, a persistent sense of restlessness, a pervasive feeling of being on edge, like something enormous was stirring inside you that you couldn't quite name, an unfamiliar current flowing beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. Let me clarify. That wasn't merely anxiety in the earthly sense, it was pure, unadulterated anticipation. Your spirit, deeply attuned to the divine frequency, has been picking up on the monumental plans heaven has been meticulously orchestrating, the intricate strategies being deployed on your behalf. And your physical body, your human vessel, has been trying to process an upgrade it doesn't quite understand yet, preparing itself to embody a new level of spiritual authority and divine energy. It's like an old circuit board suddenly receiving a power surge it wasn't designed for, but is now being retrofitted to handle. This internal tremor is a sign of immense change approaching. Coming up in just a moment, we'll delve into the third pillar, the one that has the enemy most deeply concerned, the one that darkness fears above all else, and why your valor is about to be activated in a way that will surprise even you, propelling you into realms of courageous action you never thought possible. Your valor. This indeed is the one that has darkness most gravely concerned, sending shivers through the spiritual underworld. Valor isn't merely courage, a fleeting surge of bravery in the face of danger. No, valor is courage infused with, empowered by, and deeply rooted in divine backing. It is the unwavering willingness to step forward, to advance into the unknown, to take decisive action even when you cannot see the full path, even when the fog of uncertainty shrouds your next step. It's a profound, active trust that heaven has not only prepared the way, but is actively securing every single footstep you take. And the enemy, knowing the immense power of this divine attribute, has been working overtime, tirelessly, insidiously, to convince you through every whisper and doubt that you're simply not brave enough, not strong enough, not qualified enough, not equipped enough to walk in the immense authority you inherently carry as a chosen child of God. He wants you to believe you're a frail reed, not a mighty oak. Think for a moment about the legendary encounter between David and Goliath. From an earthly perspective, everyone who witnessed that scene saw a towering, battle-hardened giant, a seemingly invincible warrior pitted against a mere shepherd boy, small and utterly inexperienced in warfare. But David, with eyes illuminated by divine perspective, saw something entirely different, something the masses completely missed. He didn't see an unconquerable foe, he saw an uncircumcised Philistine, a man outside of covenant with God, actively defying the armies of the living God, blaspheming the very name of the Most High. David's valor wasn't rooted in his own meager strength, his youthful agility, or his limited slingshot skills. No, his valor was profoundly rooted in his unshakable understanding of whose he was, a covenant child of God, and what that identity meant about his intrinsic spiritual authority and the omnipotent power available to him. The formidable giant wasn't his insurmountable obstacle. The giant was, in fact, his unparalleled opportunity to publicly demonstrate heaven's unfathomable power and unwavering faithfulness through his audacious willingness to act in faith, without hesitation, in the face of overwhelming odds. He was an instrument of divine demonstration. But here's where most people get irretrievably stuck, paralyzed by misconception, and this insight is absolutely critical for what's about to happen in your life, for the monumental shifts awaiting your embrace. You've been patiently, perhaps even agonizingly, waiting for the feeling of complete readiness, for the complete absence of fear, for a surge of unshakable confidence before you dare to step forward. You've mistakenly equated courage with the absence of fear, believing that true bravery means never feeling a tremor of apprehension. But biblical courage, heaven's definition of valor, is radically different, more profound, and far more accessible than you realize. Biblical courage is not the absence of fear. It is the powerful, intentional act of feeling the fear, acknowledging its presence, its gripping sensation, and choosing faith anyway, choosing to advance despite the tremor in your heart. It's David's hands shaking as he picked up those 5 smooth stones from the stream, the cold apprehension mingling with divine conviction, but picking them up nonetheless, his spirit resolute even as his body trembled. It's the conscious, deliberate decision to move forward, not because you're fearless, but because your faith in God's backing is greater than your fear of the unknown. The profound photograph the angel saw, a vivid image of your very soul, captured something you may have long forgotten about yourself, something you've perhaps inadvertently dismissed. It showcased your spiritual posture, not the way you physically carry your body, your shoulders slumped or erect, but the indomitable, unyielding way you carry your spirit through every trial and triumph. And what heaven specifically noticed, what stirred the celestial realms, was that even in your most profound tiredness, even in your most agonizing questioning, even in your deepest, most disorienting moments of doubt that threatened to swallow you whole, your spirit never bowed. Your soul, the core of your being, never surrendered to despair. You kept showing up, kept placing one spiritual foot in front of the other, kept believing in the unseen, kept hoping even when hoping felt foolish, illogical, and utterly exhausting. This tenacity, this resilience, this quiet refusal to yield is what caught heaven's unwavering attention. And this unyielding spiritual posture leads us to the real turning point, the pivotal moment that will redefine the trajectory of your life. That monumental decision you've been avoiding, procrastinating with endless excuses, that crucial step you've been postponing, waiting for the perfect alignment of circumstances, that difficult yet liberating conversation you've been delaying, dreading the potential fallout. Heaven is now about to decisively remove your option to wait. This won't happen through coercion or divine force, but through an overwhelming surge of divine favor that will make waiting impossible. The doors you've been knocking on, the ones that seemed stubbornly bolted shut, are about to swing wide open with astonishing ease. The opportunities you've been fervently praying for, the ones you thought were merely figments of your imagination, are about to present themselves with undeniable clarity and urgency. But here's the critical understanding you need to embrace. When heaven moves, when divine timing aligns, it moves with breathtaking speed, with an accelerating momentum that defies earthly logic and takes human breath away. Prepare for the rapid unfolding of destiny. Now, once you truly understand that profound truth, that your persistent spirit has been recognized and your readiness is now confirmed, you're perfectly poised for this revelation, an insight so powerful it has the capacity to change everything you thought you knew about your place in the divine scheme. The reason your photograph caused such an extraordinary, enthusiastic reaction in heaven wasn't just because of who you inherently are, your unique gifts and divine identity. It was equally, if not more importantly, because of when you are. You're not merely chosen in a general sense, you are specifically chosen, sovereignly appointed, for this precise moment in history, for this critical juncture in the spiritual timeline of humanity. Your spiritual authority isn't just significant in its own right. It is fundamentally seasonal, perfectly aligned with the needs and challenges of this specific era. And this season, this unprecedented window of opportunity that is now about to dramatically open before you, requires exactly the intricate combination of gifts, the crucible of experiences, and the profound tapestry of redemption that you, and only you, carry within your being. You are the right person, in the right place, at the right time, perfectly equipped for the task at hand. What most people tragically don't realize, blinded by their longing for immediate gratification, is that heaven has been meticulously watching your response to delay, observing your spirit's posture in the crucible of waiting, how you faithfully handle the agonizing waiting period, how you navigate the seemingly barren landscape of deferred hope, profoundly determines how you will ultimately handle the overwhelming magnitude of the breakthrough when it finally arrives. And your photograph, that luminous snapshot of your soul, showed an angel that you have triumphantly passed the grueling test of delay, with your faith not only intact, but deepened, refined, and strengthened. You didn't give up in frustration. You didn't give in to the tempting whispers of cynicism. You didn't allow the prolonged waiting to make you bitter, resentful, or hardened. Instead, with a spirit of quiet surrender and persistent trust, you allowed it to make you ready, truly ready for the unprecedented acceleration that is now upon you. But wait, before you impulsively charge forward, eager to embrace this new season, you need to acutely recognize this crucial pattern the enemy has been relentlessly using against chosen ones throughout history, a strategy as old as time itself. He doesn't waste his most potent attacks when you are already down, when you are at your weakest and most discouraged. No, his most ferocious, most cunning assaults are launched precisely right before your breakthrough, in the moments preceding your greatest divine advancement. He intensifies the pressure, amplifies the doubts, and manufactures chaos precisely when you are about to step into your promotion, when your divine calling is on the cusp of manifest fulfillment. Look at the biblical narrative of Joseph. The attacks against him, the betrayal, the false accusations, the imprisonment, became exponentially worse right before he miraculously went from the suffocating darkness of the prison to the radiant glory of the palace. Consider Daniel, the terrifying lion's den. A death sentence orchestrated by envious adversaries came right before he was not only miraculously preserved, but elevated to the highest, most influential position in the entire kingdom, serving under multiple emperors. Therefore, the intense spiritual warfare you've been experiencing, the relentless assaults on your peace, your joy, your identity, and your purpose, isn't evidence that you're somehow not chosen, that you've been overlooked or forgotten. On the contrary, it is undeniable, irrefutable evidence that your choosing, your divine election, is about to be publicly, powerfully, and unequivocally demonstrated for all to see, a glorious testament to heaven's unwavering commitment to your destiny. Hidden underneath that profound truth, like a precious gem buried beneath layers of earth, is another one that is even more powerful, more breathtaking in its scope and implications. The angel who gazed upon your photograph didn't just see your present reality, the current state of your earthly existence with all its struggles and triumphs. Angels, being celestial beings, perceive reality in dimensions of time that human understanding struggles to grasp. The angel saw your future self, the radiant, fully actualized version of you that already exists in God's eternal now, a completed masterpiece in the mind of the divine. And that future version of you was so breathtakingly radiant, so inherently powerful, so undeniably full of divine authority and unshakable purpose, that its very image triggered what heaven calls a glory response. It was a ripple of awe and excitement, a divine affirmation, a cosmic echo of, "It is well, it is done." And once that profound truth truly clicks within your spirit, once this revelation fully integrates into the core of your being, everything shifts, everything reorients. You stop seeing your arduous struggles as punitive punishments, and instead Begin to understand and embrace them as divine preparation, as the refining fires shaping you for greatness. You stop interpreting periods of frustrating delay as painful denials of your deepest desires and instead start understanding them as essential seasons of development, where deep roots are grown for future abundant harvests. You stop feeling like you're perpetually falling behind, lagging in the race of life, and with a sudden, exhilarating clarity, you start realizing you've actually been falling perfectly, strategically, and divinely into position, ready for your grand entrance onto the stage of your destiny. This is truly where the real, transformative journey begins. A journey that is going to challenge and revolutionize everything you thought you knew about your spiritual path and what it means to walk with God. For far too long, you've been thinking that holiness equates to having it all together, to presenting a polished, perfect exterior, to possessing an unblemished record. You've mistakenly believed that spiritual maturity meant never struggling with doubt, never grappling with fear, never experiencing failure, never faltering on your chosen path. But what the angel actually saw in your photograph, that intimate glimpse into your soul, was something completely, wonderfully different from this conventional, often judgmental human expectation. The angel saw your scars, those indelible marks of past wounds, and to their astonishment, they weren't marks of shame or weakness. They were glowing with an ethereal, divine light, radiating the very presence of God's healing and redemption. The angel saw your wounds, those raw, tender places where you felt exposed and vulnerable, and they had been miraculously turned into magnificent windows, offering glimpses into depths of empathy, compassion, and divine understanding that you wouldn't possess otherwise. The angel saw your broken places, those areas where you felt shattered beyond repair, and they had become sacred doorways, wide-open portals for heaven's power, grace and glory to pour through, not just into you, but out of you to a hurting world. Your struggles didn't diminish your light. They didn't extinguish your flame. In fact, precisely because of them, they created more space, more channels, more profound opportunities for an even greater, more radiant light to shine through you, illuminating the darkness around you. Consider the exquisite art of kintsugi, the ancient Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer, making the mended piece not only functional again, but infinitely more beautiful, more valuable, and more resonant with history than it ever was before it broke. Heaven practices a divine, infinitely more perfect version of kintsugi. Your broken places, your past hurts, your perceived imperfections are not your disqualifications from divine purpose. They are, in the eyes of the Almighty, your unique, glowing decorations in the throne room of God, testifying to His redemptive power, His exquisite artistry, and His unwavering love. They are proof of His masterpiece at work within you. But let me challenge you with something that might profoundly surprise you, an insight that could potentially unravel years of limiting beliefs. The thing that has truly been holding you back, that invisible anchor preventing your full spiritual ascent, isn't your past failures. It's not your mistakes, no matter how egregious they might seem in your memory. It's not even your fear, though fear often feels like the most formidable barrier. The deepest, most insidious impediment that has been holding you captive is your addiction to permission. You've been unconsciously, perhaps even desperately, waiting for someone else, a spiritual leader, a mentor, a family member, a friend, or even a sign from the universe, to validate your sacred calling, to confirm your divine purpose, to give you the explicit green light, the official authorization, to finally step into the fullness of who you truly are, who you were always destined to be. You've been living as if your divine mandate requires earthly approval. But coming up, prepare for the groundbreaking insight that decisively breaks this debilitating addiction to external permission and, in doing so, unleashes and activates your spiritual authority in a way that will fundamentally change everything around you, reshaping your reality and empowering your every step. Here's the part you probably didn't expect, the core revelation where everything finally breaks open, where the chains of expectation shatter. The fundamental reason you keep feeling this pervasive, crippling need for external permission is because you've been inadvertently asking the completely wrong question all along. You've been asking with a heart full of uncertainty and self-doubt, "Am I worthy?" when heaven, with infinite patience and unyielding love, has been waiting, yearning for you to simply ask, "Am I willing?" This distinction is everything. Your worthiness, your inherent immutable value, was decisively settled at the cross, sealed by the ultimate act of divine love and sacrifice. It is not up for debate, negotiation, or re-evaluation. Your intrinsic value, your preciousness in the eyes of your Creator, was irrevocably established before you even took your first breath, woven into the very fabric of your being. Your profound purpose, the unique divine assignment you were created to fulfill, was encoded into your spiritual DNA, written in the stars before the very foundation of the world was laid. The question, therefore, was never, ever about your qualifications, your merits, your achievements, or your perceived perfection. The question, the only question that truly matters, has always been about your willingness, your courageous, surrendered, faith-filled willingness to carry what you were divinely designed to carry, to step into the mantle you were born to wear. And here's the part that will probably shock you to your core, recalibrating your entire understanding of divine favor. The angel who saw your photograph, that vivid celestial image, didn't report to heaven about your perfection, about your flawless track record, or about your absolute mastery of every spiritual discipline. No, the angel reported, with profound reverence and undeniable excitement, about your persistence. Heaven isn't looking for people who have it all together, or who can boast of flawless records, untainted by failure or doubt. No, heaven is looking for people who, despite their fears, despite their flaws, despite every reason to give up, choose to keep showing up, to keep believing, to keep taking one more step of faith. Heaven is looking for your persistence, for the unwavering tenacity of a spirit that refuses to be silenced, sightless, or subdued. It's in that unyielding spirit that your true power resides, and it's that spirit that is about to ignite a transformation that will ripple across the ages. To help you further activate your spiritual authority and navigate this transformative season, I've created a powerful free ebook. It dives even deeper into these principles, offering practical steps and profound insights to help you align with heaven's plan for your life. Click the link in the description to download your free copy now and step into the fullness of your divine purpose.